Room, please. Charges number 277 on the calendar in the matter of Wisnen versus Concepcion. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Wisnad, you are a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady came to you because her husband, I suppose that's you.
Yes.
Correct? Was arrested.
She actually, Maria is my sub-agent who actually wrote the bond.
You came to her.
Well, I called her
Because your husband was in jail. What was he arrested for?
for possession of stolen property.
Possession of stolen property is what he was arrested for. He was being held on how much bail?
25.
$25,000.
There's one other charge there, Your Honor. It was PC 273.5, which is domestic violence.
So possession of stolen property and beating up his wife.
Actually, I believe it was his sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Because that's heavy bail. $25,000. Anyway, you charged 10%.
That is correct.
And you agreed to post the bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he could get out of jail, right?
Right.
That was a nice thing for them to do.
It's a job.
Your fee, that's his job. For which he gets what?
For which he gets 10.
Paid.
Right. It's paid.
And at the time your wife came in, all she had was $1,300. But they agreed to go ahead and post the bail anyway.
Right.
Correct. And there was an agreement, and what was the agreement about the rest of the bail, sir?
It was a signed promissory note to have the remaining balance of $1,300 paid in full by May 2nd.
And how many days after that?
That was actually 4 days after the bond was posted, and that was a date that was agreed upon by Maria, the agent writing the bail, and Eleanor.
May I see it, please? So, Ms. Concepcion, you signed this promissory note to come in 4 days later and post the rest of the bail. Right?
Right.
Did you?
Tried. That I didn't. No.
You didn't?
No.
And you, sir, got out of jail.
Yes.
Did you go in and post the money?
No, I didn't. I told her, directly I told her, I said, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to have that money for you. Now, is there a way that we can make arrangements for the balance? Payments such as, $200 a month.
Just a second. These aren't your relatives. They're in business.
But, Your Honor, she told me that if I had any problems making the payments, she could make arrangements.
Correct. But when I had also spoken to her and we did the promissory note, I told her to tell me the date that she can come up with this money. So I gave her an option to either pay it off in full or do payments. And she told me that she could come up with the money by May 2nd, which was a couple days later.
Okay. Now listen. The most important thing for you was to get your husband out of jail.
Yes.
You signed this piece of paper that promised that you would make the payment to the bail bondsman, who stands to lose all the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just this little bit of money, but $25,000.
That is correct.
Because you are ensuring that he's going to show up and do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his business. Okay. So you got what you needed momentarily, which was to get out of jail. You promised whatever you had to promise, and then you didn't pay it. How many times have you been arrested? Can't try to count on one hand.
No.
How
I
many
haven't been
times?
arrested that many times.
So you know the drill.
Not really.
Are you sure you do? How old are you?
37.
You've been arrested more than 3 times, sir? Make sure you tell me the truth.
Actually about 3 times.
Right.
Yeah, the money issue was actually secondary on...
I know.
Okay.
Because your lawsuit says that he didn't show up
To sign the paperwork, that is correct.
to sign the paperwork, and he was supposed to.
There's also
That's
another.
this other form that
Can I see that, please?
his wife signed. Sorry.
Now, you signed this paper agreeing that you would produce your husband in their office within 48 hours of his release to sign the remainder of the paperwork. Right?
Right. But she told me, because I didn't have the money, she told me not to go in.
Did you ever tell her not to come in?
No.
Baloney! Baloney! She never told you not to bring him in to sign the rest of the paperwork? Paperwork
that's
is
what happened.
what he has to have.
When I spoke to her, why wouldn't she tell me this? She told me she
Just a second, sir. Were you told by your wife that you had to go in within 2 days to sign some paperwork?
No.
Baloney. Baloney. You
I
know,
don't think
there's a
so.
certain common sense, sir. You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
She told me about taking a picture, yes, okay.
Right.
But like I said, I
Just a
spoke
second.
to this woman
Yeah.
personally.
Your wife told you that you had to go in and sign some paperwork and have your picture taken. So the answer is yes. Right?
Picture taken, yes.
Did you go?
Did we don't know?
No, because we didn't have the money.
This says when you're released within 48 hours, you have to come to his office. Is that what it says?
Correct.
It is in English. Clear as a bell. So don't tell me
I
about going to
understand
court
that.
the
No, I
next day.
understand that. But she told us not to come in because
There was
we
a lot
making
of
a trip
things
for
said
nothing.
verbally.
I would call her and she would tell me she would come in the next day. There was no one, she never ever came in. I kept calling, telling me that her check or whatever, for whatever which reasons, she didn't have the money. And I told her, okay, if you don't have the money, come in and we can make payment
You
arrangements.
told me
but
you were
he
gonna
needs
arrest
to
me.
Come in.
Hey,
If the paper on the agreement said, on that agreement that we just handed to you, said if he didn't come in within 48 hours, then we could arrest him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's trying to put his finger in my eye. Instinct, I bite on that thing.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wiseman says Frank Concepcion owes him bail money. When Gene went to collect, Frank says there was an altercation over a gun.
tell me what happened when you went to arrest
Okay,
him.
here we go.
There were 2 times. The first night was on a Wednesday, the 14th, I believe. I went to the mother-in-law's house, which was listed as his residential address. I went there, I saw Eleanor, and I saw his mother-in-law, and a number of other people there. I went through the house, he wasn't there. Gave Eleanor and her mother my business cards with instructions to have Frank call me when he came back in.
You're a liar, man.
Hey, I want you to be quiet, sir. Don't talk to him. You're going to have a chance to speak. How much after you posted the bail for him did you go to effectuate the arrest?
About 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Okay. And in that 2.5 to 3 weeks' time, had he come in to make any payment whatsoever?
No, ma'am. As a matter of
Had
fact,
his wife come in to make any payment whatsoever?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So
Nor
you
did-
went to arrest him. And tell me what happened when you got there.
Got to the house. We were watching the house. Maria was the driver. I was going to effect the arrest. I had Maria move the car. I was standing in the shadow next to the side of the house when Maria pulled to the light to square the block and come back on a different location. Frank's, as I find out later, it was Frank's younger brother comes out, sees her pull away, yells something out. Frank goes running across the street, out to the front door, across
He
the
does.
street to his parked car. That is correct. I yelled out his name. I yelled his name again and ordered him to stop. He turned around, looked over his shoulder at me, ran back towards the house. I stopped him in the driveway, side of the house in the side driveway. We rolled to the ground. As we were rolling, I felt his hand go for my gun. I clamped his hand. At that point, I basically gave up on the encounter. My whole goal, my whole purpose in life at that point was to hold the gun in the holster, not allow the gun to get released, get out. I had his left hand clamped to my gun and my gun pressed down in the holster. He was able to straddle my body, get his right hand around my throat.
Tell the truth now.
I'm going to throw you out of the courtroom. Take your hands out of your pockets and be quiet. You're going to have your opportunity, sir, to tell me your version of the story. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Okay, continue.
He's got his hand on my throat and his other hand on my gun. I put my hand up to his head. I can still feel the ridge of his eye socket under my thumb with the intention of rolling my thumb in. I rolled my hand down across his face to rock his head back and force him off of me. When my hand came down across his face, he clamped down on my left index finger. Still have a scar on each side. He clamped down. I felt his jaw rake across it. His brother then got up to my right side. I felt his brother pry at my hand on the gun, and either I hit him with my elbow or I kneed him with my knee.
Must be his auntie.
My hand got free
Do
at
me a
that point.
favor. Would you stand behind him? Because I want to get this case over with, so I don't want to throw him out of the courtroom. But maybe your presence there, Officer Byrd, will remind him to keep his mouth shut until it's his turn.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
When he yelled out, I was able to get my hand free. I pried his hand off my throat. At that point, I guess he felt he was losing control. He tried to stand up. Because I was holding both of his hands, he pulled me up as well. His brother put up both his hands on my chest and pushed me back to the ground. Struck me, trying to hit my groin missing. Frank got up, took 2 or 3 steps. I either pushed or punched his brother again to get him off of me. Frank took a step back and yelled, "Don't hit my brother." I was able to get up. Frank ran to his car across the street. Maria was parked in the middle of the street on the phone with the local police department. She witnessed the whole thing. Frank got away that night, and then I went straight from there. Police officer responded about 10 or 15 minutes later, took a report, and I went directly to the emergency room to get medical care for my finger.
So the remainder of your lawsuit is for the bite?
The bite, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, first of all, we talked on the phone, and this is after 2 weeks. We spoke on the phone. I have not yet even spoke to this man. I spoke to her, and her and my wife were talking. We agreed to come down to their office at that evening. The call was about 4 o'clock. We agreed to be there about 8 o'clock. I left the house. I told her, I said, we'll go down there, meet me down there at 8 o'clock. I have to go to my father's and run some errands, okay, for my father. Okay, this was at my father's place. Okay, he came, I went outside. I was leaving after I ran the errands for my father, okay. This was nighttime already, it was dark. I go to my car, it was parked across the street, okay. As I'm going across the street, it's dark too, there's not many lights out there. Now, he's hiding behind a bush, okay. All of a sudden, I'm walking across the street, I'm in the middle of the street, and somebody says, "Hold it. You move it, I'll shoot." He got his .357 out, pointing right at me, okay. And I look at him. I don't know who he is. He never identified himself at all, okay. I don't know who the heck. He'd be trying to rob me, you know. I run, I take off. As I'm running back towards my place, okay, the garage, I turn around, because he's right behind me, I turn around and smack him one. Okay, then I pick him up and I throw him, body slam him on my garage. Okay, at this point, he's going for his gun again. Now, when he goes for his gun, I put my elbow up in his throat, okay, and I'm grabbing for the gun, because I'm going to take it from him before he shoots me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're wrong about that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor, I have-
1947.
You're wrong again in 1998.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion tried to jump bail. When he tried to collect, an altercation ensued.
Just tell me your version of what happened that day.
This man's going for his gun like it was the thing to do, like he's some super cop or something. You ain't about nothing, though. But I'm going to tell you, okay, because I'm going for his gun. I'm going for his gun, all right? And this time he's got, like he said, he's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger, all right? Then I pull the gun out from his holster and toss it in the bush. Now, I don't want some accident to happen because this guy's acting like a fool out. Would just pull out his gun, you know, like he thinks he can do this. I haven't jumped bail. I haven't missed my court date. I haven't even had my court date yet. And he's coming at me with a gun?
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You were running errands for your father, and you were supposed to be at his office. Shut up! Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
You were supposed to be at his office at 8 o'clock. That was the plan. That's what you told me, correct?
Right, correct.
Did you go to his office at 8 o'clock? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Right. Because when he came to your house, it was after 8 o'clock, correct?
No, it was before 8
What
o'clock.
time? What time?
7:30, 20 till.
But he had came to
Just
the
a
house
second.
before
Just a
anyone.
second. Hey,
I was there.
just answer my...
I
Listen
was
to me.
there.
Listen to me. Truth of the matter is the two of you had absolutely no intention of going to his office
Yes,
at
I
8 o'clock.
did. I was going.
Yeah,
It only
you-
takes 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, baloney.
They had no intentions of meeting us at their office.
It was all set up.
Listen to me. It may have been a setup, but you had no intention of going there, paying the money, and having your picture taken, and
It
filling
wasn't
out the rest
about
of the
paying
paper.
money. It wasn't about paying money.
It's
It
about
was
making
about
a
signing
contract.
a contract to pay $200 a month.
Right.
All right.
For the rebalance.
Okay,
of the
let's go. Let's finish up that. And let me get to the next thing that's troubling me about your version of this story, sir. When you first started to tell me the story, you told me he was hiding in the bushes, which means that you saw him hiding in the bushes.
No.
And, well, then how did you know he was hiding in the bushes?
Because I crossed the street and he said, hold it, move and I'll shoot. That's when I looked and he
okay.
was hiding in the bushes.
I see. So you saw him hiding in the bushes. What did you say no for? You saw him hiding in the bushes, right?
Okay.
Then you just went through a whole story about where does he come off taking out his gun. It's only a bail, and I hadn't missed my court date. Isn't that what you just told me?
That's correct.
Right. Just a minute. But then at the beginning of the story that you were telling me you thought he was a robber. They had to rob you. How could he be a robber and a bail bondsman at the same time?
He never identified himself. I told you. You're not listening to me.
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
No, I told you he did not identify himself. He never had.
You said to me, where does he come off pulling a gun, a .357 Magnum on me, as a bail bondsman?
I'm speaking after the fact already, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, I've heard both stories. A, you owe him the money for the bail, because that's what you promised, madam, to pay him. That's the written... Stand closer to him.
Stand as close as you want, brother.
That's what you promised. That's what you agreed. You agreed to come in and pay $1,200, right?
Right.
So that's what you owe him. And what I am finding, based upon common sense is that he got out of jail and he said, let him come find me.
No,
That-
you're wrong.
Sure.
You're wrong
Didn't
about
come
that.
in. I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong
But
again
since
in
1947, I didn't. You are suing, sir, for assault. It's
Yes,
clear
sir.
to me from his own version of what happened that he knew exactly who you are when you stopped him, that he was avoiding you, that the family was avoiding you, and that you were effectuating a lawful arrest in order to secure your bail, because it was now 2.5 to 3 weeks, and the person for whom you had posted bail failed to come in to complete the necessary paperwork and failed to keep that part of the agreement that provided for the remainder of the 10% of the bail. So you had an absolute right to go in and effectuate an arrest under the laws in this jurisdiction, and you were assaulted. And I believe that he knew who you were, that what he should have done was stop immediately. He did not do that.
Do you
Based
believe
upon
he
his own,
identified himself?
based upon his own statement,
Do you believe he
Right.
identified himself?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You answer my questions. Based upon his own statement, he turned around and struck you before you struck him. He said that, not you. He said he turned around and assaulted you.
Okay,
So
that
I'm
is a
granting
robber.
you your judgment for $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
Smith, step forward, please.
25-year-old John Wilson and his girlfriend Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chaydez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One for $1,000 filed by you. The other for $500
Yes.
filed by you. And you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you
Correct.
And the car.
and the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that.
Yes,
What time did you board this bus?
approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30.
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time, and it has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And they...
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice.
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto.
No?
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus, and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you get out
When she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people. You know.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right
This
here.
is my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't
Did
stand
I
and listen
ask
to the
you,
laugh.
just a second,
You
did I
people are
ask you,
lying.
did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle,